Hi, I'm Terry with SLC TV, and I am at a truck show. Not just a truck show, the truck show. And I'm going to let Bill tell you a little bit about the show and the name of it, and we're going to go on from there and then talk about some of the background for the show.
Good morning, my name is Bill Semple. I'm the president of the Antique Truck Club in New England, and we have an annual antique truck show, and the age of the trucks go from 1910 up to 3 or 4 years ago. We run a chapter in this area. We have like 200 members. We started it back in the late 70s and started with 5 people, and it just keeps on growing. Basically, it's the camaraderie of people. They work all week long and they want to have a little relaxation. Some people play golf, some people have boats, some people collect antique cars, and some people collect antique trucks. But it's a hobby and it's a lot of work. The truck that sits for a while and you got to put a new battery in it, change a tire, but it's a camaraderie and it's a relaxation. That's it, about all I can say about all the good things.
How long has the show been going?
This show here has been going here for like 3 years, but I've been doing this show for almost 35 years now. And we started in South Boston, down in Congress Street, which is, totally changed in Boston. And we were out in Framingham, then we went to Marlboro, and recently we're at the Hudson Elks, but we outgrew the place. The past 2 years we've had close to 500 trucks here. And it depends upon the weather and people's scheduling, we could have close to that today. Just don't know until the people keep, dribbling in, and they start coming in at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. So it's a hobby, and it keeps you from getting old, is really what it amounts to.
So the goal of the show, as I understand it, is to take the truck and restore it to its original condition. It's not to customize it or muscle it up or anything like that.
No, and we don't do any judging at all. There's no 2 trucks that are made even today that have the same specifications to them. So you try to put it back to the original. And one of the biggest things in this hobby is that people had a truck that their father drove, was out in the back field, or he was in some sort of a business and the truck is in the barn. Maybe it's a birthday gift that they restore the truck for him, give it to him as a present. Or they just find an old truck in the field and it's a winter project with a bunch of guys. So as a result, we get trucks that aren't perfect. They always have the original colors. They're not fancy because they weren't fancy when they were built brand new. The trucks today have all the fancy chrome, they have Peterbilts, but you can't make any more money with a fancy Peterbilt versus the older Mac.
Okay, now we're standing next to the owner of the truck behind us. And your name is Herb. Tell me.
Yes, that's correct. Excuse me.
So tell me a little bit about the truck and its history and why you have decided to keep this truck.
Well, it's a 1928 Mac, Model AB. It was discovered in a orange grove in Apopka, Florida. I was told about it by a good friend, Andy Malatesta, who had a Mac similar to this, and our company had trucks like this years gone by. I took a ride up, checked it out, hadn't run. It was in a barn, which was the best part about it. There were mouse nests in the radiator, so forth. My wife and my mother said, "You're crazy." First thing I did is grab the crank and the motor turned over. So I says, and it had a 12-volt starter and a generator and electric lights, which was an option for that year. So I elected to buy it. Paid $2,500 for it. They took my temperature, thought I was still headed for disaster. Brought it back to Nantasket, which is by the coast in Hull, Massachusetts. And it sat for a while. I got some lumber, and then gradually in spare time started to rebuild it, got the motor going and so forth, and brought it back to what it is today, just for a hobby, as Bill mentioned, and a lot of enjoyment. It's good to explain to people how they operate and the function of the truck.
You might mention that some of these trucks have no air conditioning, they have no radio, some of them don't even have a heater, no GPS, no two-way radio or anything, and no power steering. And some of them you got to crank the handle in the front to get them to run.
Yeah, a lot of manpower, It, definitely a labor of love. As Bill alluded to, I've been involved with Bill right from the beginning, more or less. I remember driving this particular truck into Boston, going on tours in South Boston. I drove this to Mack Trucks opening day on North Beacon Street when we were invited to be there as a guest. I've driven it to Framingham to the Shoppers World Show on the highway. It'll go about 40 miles an hour, 4-speed, 4-cylinder, Mack engine, gas, magneto, basic bare bones. It'll go about 40 miles an hour. After that, the windshield starts shaking, so you have to let up on the gas because you know you're going too
You
fast.
wouldn't dare drive at 40 miles an hour, I don't think.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's got good brakes, yeah, no, it handles well.
Some of these older trucks have hard rubber tires, as you notice by this truck here. They didn't have the pneumatic, tires, so they just rode, very, very hard. And of course, they didn't have blacktop roads; they were just dirt and mud, in the
Wagon
springtime.
trails.
Yeah, they were wagon trails, correct.
That's why the early trucks, they sat so high up in the air because a team of horses would be in front of a wagon. So when they made that 1911 model, they raised you up to look over the horses. This is my good friend Paul Joyce in the background. He's been a member of the club as long as we have. His hobby is photography, which is an important part of this club, because when you buy an older vehicle, as Bill said, you need pictures to revert back to make it look authentic and bring it back to what it should be. So there's a lot of people that have contributed to this hobby.
Help
People out, and they'll get in the car and go to upstate New York on Route 20, get a motel room if there's a big northeast snowstorm coming, get set up on a hill and watch the snow fighter trucks plowing snow. Then in the winter, when nobody can do much with the temperature change and being housebound, they put on slideshows in Castle Island, South Boston, have pizza at noontime, Chinese food, Chinese food at night.
All these old Macs.
Chinese. Hey. How are you, Louie? Good to see you. This gentleman's from Deerfield, Mass. Has a big
Sheffield,
farm.
Mass.
Sheffield. I'm sorry.
Is that part of the United States?
Sheffield.
Part of the
Yeah,
United
part of the
States.
United States.
Yeah, that's
Massachusetts?
yeah. He goes to California. He's got a truck. He's driven it all the way across country, Iowa, everything.
That's gutsy.
Yeah,
That's good. By the way, you're on television right now.
Is that right? Holy moly, how you doing, guys?
Yeah.
What channel are we on?
I don't know.
Channel 8, I don't know.
Yeah. Nice, very good.
Take care, guys.
And thank you very much for taking the time and coming by.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
That we were going to be here and having such an event. Probably stumbled onto us, did you?
Oh, I knew about this for weeks.
Oh, you did? Good. I'm glad the word got out. My good friend.
Well, I think my daughter sent a lot of letters around. We've been saving different clippings the past year, and she emailed a lot of people about a month ago, hoping that somebody would show up like you. So it just takes a lot of time. I start preparing for the show in January, and we advertise in the local chapters, and we advertise in the national magazines. Paul, don't back up. So we advertise in Hemmings and a lot of the local magazines, a lot of the trade shows, and also a lot of these magazines are looking for people like us, nonprofits, because we're a nonprofit organization. In fact, this show, if it's successful, in the past 2 years, we've given $2,000 to Salvation Army. And Pine Street Inn, we gave $1,000 in Boston. We gave $1,000 to Rosie's Place. We gave $500 to Collins Foundation. And also we give it $4,000 on scholarships. So if you're in high school and you're going to college into the truck maintenance, engineering, anything to do with transportation and trucks, we'll give you $1,000 scholarship, which we pay directly to the school. So this year, if we're successful, we'll be able to, probably give another $3,000 or $4,000 a month. We give to the people that don't have highly paid executives. That's our philosophy.
Nice, very nice. Looking around here at the number of people at the show, I'd say this is a success.
Well, the big thing is that people today are looking for what do I do this weekend with my kids, all right? So the kids have a little interest. Also, all the towns now are starting to do truck day, okay?
Yes.
Like in a lot, and they have the municipality trucks, the police car, the fire engines, the snow plows. So now the kids are getting interested in trucks. So So, and so people see this ahead of time. They say, you know, let's go up there. And we do it in the fall. When we used to do it in the summer, it was too hot. And then go pick pumpkins, apples, you know, into weekends. Ma'am, you're walking in front of the thing.
We're live.
So what am I going to do this weekend? You know, let's go pick pumpkins. Well, no, I think I'll go to the truck show. Then we'll go pick pumpkins in the afternoon. So the kids can get in, run around. They can't hurt anything. You have a car show, you can't touch a car, okay? The trucks, we open the door, let them climb in and out, you know? So it's something for people to do. And I don't know how many spectators, we'll probably have a couple thousand people that don't own trucks, okay? Those people pay $5 per person to get in. Children are free. And then the people up here pay the $10. And then we have a newsletter that comes out every other month. And then we'll do a big program now. The next couple of issues, we take as many pictures as we can, put the trucks in. And then we do specials of different trucks. You know, we might do a special article on this truck here, you know, maybe in 6 months or a year. You try to mix it around. You can't do them all on Herb's trucks, okay? So he gets the spotlight once and somebody else maybe gets the spotlight. You can mix and match, you know?
Variety is always the spice.
That's right, that's right.
We have different interests for different type peoples. I mean, that gentleman who was here has a big farm out in the western part of the state. One of my employees calls him and goes deer hunting there. He's accepted because he takes care of his property and so forth, and, you know.
We try to get pictures of people along with the trucks, just not the trucks. And one of the things we have, people take pictures of the trucks. I say, where are the people? So I try to get the people with the truck if I can.
Yeah, without that, it's just a museum.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. Which is another thing, museums are failing across the United States because it costs too much money to maintain them, even though that, you know, they're funded maybe, or somebody's left some money to maintain them. It's just they don't work out. They're too expensive to run, even though they keep getting more and more debt. The beauty about this is you come here to the show, excuse me, you come to the show, you get your truck to home, and tonight at 10 o'clock, everything will be gone. It's all over. You don't have to worry tomorrow, the next day, you know, maybe a little bit of cleanup.
One last question.
Sure.
Did you drive this truck in today?
Yes. I didn't drive it from Lancaster, but we brought it off, unloaded it, drove it here.
It wasn't trailered.
No, well, yes. No. It was trailered to this location, but I drove it from the back field up to here.
Okay. Because I've gone to a lot of shows where things are trailered right in, dropped, and you're not even sure they run.
Trailer queens, they call them trailer queens. There's no trailer queens here, believe me.
Well,
Best
listen.
Antiques are all French.
That's right.
I gave Mr.
I have a
Semple a
plaque.
I gave
Yeah,
Best
Antiques
Antiques are all French.
That's right.
That's something for our viewers to consider. Well, thank you both very much for taking time out for your busy day. I appreciate you looking at the truck and gaining a little bit of knowledge.
Now, note the backup lights. Every year, a sponsor, a different person, okay?
Okay.
We have a sponsor program, so every year we have a different truck on there.
Okay, we're all set here. Thank you very, very much. Hi, Terry again. I'm with Peter Whiting, and I'm still at the show. And we're standing in front of a rather interesting piece. Peter, would you tell us about it?
It's a 1929 Ford Model AA, stake body, and that's about it.
That's about it. 4 cylinders, 6 volt,
4 cylinders, 6 volt. Yeah.
so you don't have to crank it.
No.
How long have you owned the truck?
Roughly 20 years, I guess.
So you're just a beginner. Can
yeah.
you tell me a little bit about its history?
Yes, this belonged to Phil Gas in Sudbury, Mass. It was called Phillips Petroleum at the time. And the truck ended up in Framingham because the mechanic that worked on their trucks garage was in Framingham in Knobscott. And he worked for Phil Gas for like 40 years. And his cousin lived in Framingham on Salem Road, and he needed a truck for his yard. And Lawrence Prouty was the name of the mechanic that worked on the trucks.
Yeah.
And they had just traded 6 trucks in. I guess they sold 6 at a time and bought 6 new ones. And supposedly they weren't supposed to do any mechanical or major work on them, but somehow this one slipped through. So when his cousin wanted a truck, Lawrence suggested this one because he had just done a motor job on it. So I heard about it through a friend that knew about the truck, and also he had some Fords and tractors and a complete antique machine shop. So I ended up buying all of the material, and I'm in the construction business anyway. I've been around tractors all my life, and Model A's also, and Model T's too. But anyway, so I bought everything and gave some of it away and sold some of it, but I kept the truck and one Ford's tractor that I still have also.
So this is not your first antique by any means.
Not at all. I had them when I was, I think, 12 years old. I bought my first Model T.
You're not that old.
Wow. I won't tell you.
I'm not asking. So the truck has been used to carry stuff for a gas station?
Compressed gas.
Oh, it was carrying. It was
propane in like 100-gallon tanks.
Okay. Oh, so this was carrying some pretty serious weight in its day.
I don't know. It's only a 1.5 ton truck, so I'm sure they didn't carry too much in it. The bottles are fairly bulky anyway, so that's what it was used for.
And how many shows do you go to in a year?
Well, as far as straight truck shows, 2 or 3 probably. But then I go to the antique equipment shows also, and so several shows a year.
Okay, now the trick question: was it trailered in, or did you drive
I
it?
drove it here from Framingham. It took me an hour to get here.
I'll bet you got a lot of waves and horn beeps too.
Not necessarily. I got sworn at a lot, I think.
So, what attracted you? What interested you to get into antique trucking?
I've always liked trucks since I was this high, so I've just always been interested in them.
All right, thank you very much for taking some time with us. I'm sure the viewers will enjoy what they just heard. Thanks again. And right now I'm with Tom, and Tom has a very unusual piece to show us. At first glance, it looks like a completely non-restored antique, but no, there's much more to the story than that. Tom, tell us about the truck.
Well, it's a 1931 Chevy Independence. I bought it off a fellow up in North Conway, New Hampshire, and he was going to restore it. And he took it apart, and it sat in his barn for 42 years in pieces. So I came along and bought it 5 years ago. Took it home in wooden crates and trailers, and we started putting it back together the way I wanted to put it back together. Not necessarily original, but it looks original, but not.
Well, that's where the story gets interesting. Tell us what you've done to it since you've taken it.
Well, I started with the front end. I put an 89 Corvette front end in it. I put a 99 Blazer rear end in it, 373 gears. I put a Hercules diesel 4-cylinder turbo motor in it. Power brakes, power steering.
No air conditioning.
No air conditioning.
Well, all right then. Can you tell us a little bit about the truck? It goes back more than 40 years. Do you know of its early history?
No, I don't know too much about it. I just bought it off a fella in North Conway, and he bought it off a firefighter friend of his. And I tried to look up the information on the Window-Blow Fire Department, but I haven't since found out any information.
So you don't even know what state they're in?
I was told it might have been Maine, but I'm not sure.
Sounds like it could be a Maine name.
It might be a little village or something.
So do you go to a lot of shows?
Go to a lot of shows.
And here's the leading question. Do you drive it in or trailer it?
Oh, she's a driver. She won't be a trailer girl.
Now the purist, ladies and gentlemen.
She gets 30 miles to the gallon on a trip. Not too bad.
30 miles to a gallon in a diesel. Not bad. Anything else to add?
No, I think that's about it. That's it.
Well, thank you very much for your time. It was interesting. Thanks. Hi, I'm standing here with Freddie, the owner of this very, very patriotic looking truck. Freddie, thanks for coming to the show today. Tell us a little bit about the truck.
It's a 1979 Peterbilt. I built it from the ground up. Completely did it as a rolling chassis. When I brought it home, it only had no motor, no transmission in it, and completely built it. Definitely has been a lot of fun doing it.
Talk about a labor of love. When you brought it home, was it factory fresh new?
No, it was in pretty rough shape. I had to pretty much redo. I took the cab off and redid the cab, all new hook panels. Just completely reassembled it. I bought another truck for the motor and transmission and rebuilt those and put them in. It's just been a ongoing thing. I started it in 1999 and it's still work in progress. It's every year I try to do a little more to it.
So at this point in time, is the truck still completely stock?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's a combination of old truck and new truck, and it's a love, something that I love, and hopefully I'll have this till the day I die.
So when we say not stock, it's what I meant was OEM, like it came from the factory. It sounds like you made some major mods maybe to it.
Yeah, I've done quite a few different things to it. It was a tandem axle truck, and I use it to pull my fifth wheel camper. So that's why they made it into a single axle. It gets around a little bit easier, and it's a little more practical for me.
How many miles do you think you put on it in a year?
I usually average around 5,000 miles a year.
And do you go outside of New England with it?
Yeah, it's been to New Jersey several times, I've been to Pennsylvania, Western New York. I've been to the truck races on Labor Day weekend. They have a drag race up in Canada in St. Joseph, the Beauce. I've been to that several times with it. That's a lot of fun. Usually attracts a lot of attention in Canada because of the red, white, and blue.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's got to be a real head turner. And the obvious question, I think I know the answer. You drove this today. You didn't trailer it.
Oh, that's correct. I drive it everywhere. It doesn't even sit in the garage. It sits outside all year long.
What's its future? It sounds like you've got more plans for it.
Yeah, I probably in the next couple of years I'm going to completely redo the paint, and I want to do something a little bit different with the motor because I do some drag racing with it.
No way!
I want to make it a little bit faster.
Quarter mile?
Yeah.
Okay. What does this turn in the quarter mile?
Usually around like 18 seconds, with 70-ish miles an hour. But I want to get it up to, I'd like to get it like around 13, 14 seconds. That's what I'm thinking.
You're talking major mods. Major mods. Stay tuned, boys and girls. This thing is going to scream.
But definitely a lot of fun. It's been something I've done. I've had help from friends, but for the most part, I've done most of it hands-on myself.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your time. I love the paint scheme. I don't know whether to admire it or salute it.
The paint scheme actually was a guy that was like my stepdad. He had a Midway blue truck that was the 1976 Boston show truck. Painted the same way. And I always wanted that truck, so I made my own just like this. This is Flo. That was dedicated to him.
Well, you can't see it, folks, but it says Floyd 2012, and the other part of it says Forget Hell. There's a story there, too.
Yeah, that sure is. He always had that on his, he was always very patriotic, and he always had a picture of the rebel soldier, the Southern soldier, Confederate soldier, and it carrying the flag, and it said underneath it, Forget Hell.
Oh, boy. My favorite topic right now. Well, listen, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for a little background on the truck.
Very welcome.
Enjoy the ride.
Okay.
Thanks.